Before I start, I want to tell Terry Brown that he has done an excellent job. As park rangers together in the Washington, D.C. area, and knowing him as a resource has been great, and even his wife has been very helpful to me at the Smithsonian. Hey, Jennifer. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise, high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Good afternoon again. I am Joy Kennard, the superintendent of the Charles Young Buffalo Soldiers National Monument, and I think my thunder was stolen a little bit because Lewis took some of the parts that I had, and his passion just made me say, wow, he's really good. So I hope you all don't mind me going over just a few that he mentioned in his presentation to you. Reconstruction Era National Monument is one of our newest national parks. It's nestled in Beaufort, South Carolina and St. Helena's Island at the Penn Center, which is a school founded by freed slaves. There in Beaufort and St. Helena's Island, you can go and see some of the original buildings that were built on the campus of the Penn Center, and you can actually go into a visitor center in Beaufort and experience different things that are connected to Reconstruction. There you can go learn about the critical times in this era when the country was trying to redefine itself after the Civil War and the tragic death of Abraham Lincoln. Conversations about citizenship, patriotism, and political power, in part with many other things that came out of this period, like the Freedmen's Bureau. Charles Young Buffalo Soldiers National Monument. Charles Young Buffalo Soldiers National Monument, encompassing Young's home and adjoining farmland in Wilberforce, Ohio, was established by presidential proclamation on March 25th, 2013. And I do have to mention that Bob Stanton, our first Black director of the National Park Service, who is here, was our speaker for our 5th anniversary last year. We turned 5. This year we turned 6. That's a big deal for a new park. Terry knows. With this proclamation, and Tara knows too. With this proclamation, the National Monument became the 401st unit of the National Park System. It is with my vision that the primary objective will focus on the monument's role as an entryway to expanded understanding of Colonel Young and the Buffalo Soldiers. You need to know this, that in 1983, Colonel Young's home was auctioned off by his family and all of its contents. And it was purchased by Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated in 1983 and given to the National Park Service in 2013 with a lot of help with Congressman Clyburn, Bob Stanton, and others, which gave me a job, so you don't have to. So Colonel Young raised his children here and was in the very fabric of Wilberforce, Ohio, which is quite an amazing place that I love to work in. The Buffalo Soldiers are such an incredible group of men. Since 1866, the Buffalo Soldiers were commissioned to protect federal lands. There were over 50 national parks that we know of today that Buffalo Soldiers have a connected history to its origins, of which are the Grand Canyon, the Grand Tetons, where, of course, David Bella has been superintendent and has been a ranger, I think, there too, years ago. Yosemite, Yellowstone, Sequoia and Kings Canyon, and even places in Alaska. These Buffalo Soldiers served with distinction. Colonel Young is just one of many that served with distinction in the U.S. Army during this period, but of course, he was the first Black colonel in the U.S. Army. He was the first Black military attaché. He was the third African American to graduate from West Point and the only of the three to have a decorated military career. He went all over the world and knew French, German, and Latin, and Spanish, and most of his maps that he drew as an engineer from West Point are still being referred to at the Pentagon today. Nicodemus was the first Black community west of the Mississippi River and is the only predominantly Black community west of the Mississippi that remains a living community today. Bass Reeves, this is someone you got to know if you don't know about him. Bass Reeves had a reputation throughout the territory for his ability to catch outlaws that other deputies in the U.S. Marshal Service couldn't. He was known to wear a disguise to work in order to get information and effect the arrest of fugitives. He arrested over 3,000 men and women in the Oklahoma Territory and was the first African-American U.S. deputy in the U.S. Army in the Indian Territory. Booker T. Washington National Monument in Hardee, Virginia, was where Booker T. Washington was born and raised, and where he had convictions to be better, do better. And as we move into talking about the Oaks, as you can see, he did a lot better than what he was born into, enslavement in Virginia. The Tuskegee Institute is the school that Booker T. Washington founded. He actually lived there in his home called the Oaks that you see here. This is his library. The other image that you see, which is very lavish if you have not been there. It is a beautiful testament to what he aspired, and even when you go in that house, you can't help but to get emotional because of all the things he was able to accomplish. The George Washington Carver Museum is also on the campus of Tuskegee Institute, and there you can see where he did his inventions, where he created all of his experiments. The Paul Laurence Dunbar home is in Ohio. It's about 30 minutes from Wilberforce, and this is where Paul Laurence Dunbar wrote a lot of his poems, and his mother lived with him. She actually created this site as a memorial to his honor when he passed away, along with an organization she started to honor him. Pullman National Monument. Pullman is in Chicago, Illinois, and it helps to recognize the impacts of George Pullman in the Industrial Revolution with all of the train company he created, which was earning him massive amounts of money. He also had of course, the porters who worked for the company, and the Pullman service. Okay, I'm wrapping up. I'm sorry, y'all. I think I over-prepared, and I'm kind of trying to make sure I don't lose time and concentrate here. But Pullman is in Chicago. It's a beautiful site. I've been there. One of my colleagues is the superintendent, and it is just an outstanding place. The Magdalena Walker home is here in Virginia, in Richmond, Virginia. It's a beautiful home. And I love Ms. Walker because she's a big girl like me. The Murray McCall Bethune Council House in Washington, D.C. is a great place too. It was the headquarters of the National Council of Negro Women from 1943 to 1966 and has an amazing story. The table to your right, down below in this picture, was reconfigured and redrawn and is now at the National Museum of African American History and Culture. It actually lights up and shows you certain things that Mrs. Bethune wrote on that table, meetings she had there. It is just a fantastic experience. And when I worked at Mrs. Bethune's home, I actually was able to work with the curators on that project. The National Archives for Black Women's History was created there, and there are a lot of stories that still have not been told, but this collection is one of the most massive collections on Black women and civil rights. Of course, the home of Dr. Carter G. Woodson is just an amazing place, and Tara's taking very good care of it. It is where he started, he birthed Black History Month. In this home, it was the headquarters for the Association for the Study of African American Life and History today, but then it was called the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History. And these are some of the books that were published in the house there, even one on Tubman. I wanted to briefly mention that picnic areas and what we do in the National Park Service have not always been for African Americans. And there has been a lot of people who have helped to, from the external realm, to push the National Park Service to be more inclusive. And this man right here, William J. Trent, did that during his administration at the United Negro College Fund. And I just had to mention him because he's one of the reasons why we had Langston Golf Course in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much.